Hello and welcome to Knockoff Media's Tire for Tire. I'm Alan, and joining me is Raf. Today, we're going to be talking about the race that took place in Portugal. Raf, what did you think of that race?
Honestly, I think we were spoiled by the first two races where with everything like action packed happened that this was kind of a bog standard race. Like, yeah, we had Raikkonen crash in the beginning, but besides that, it was kind of boring.
I actually think it wasn't that bad of a race. Like you said, we kind of got spoiled from the first two races of the season. However, if you go back a few years, I think we would have considered this a good race if it wasn't for those previous two races. There was overtaking, yes, not a ton, but there was racing for the lead and in the back. There was definitely some boring times, but I think it was a good race. And if that was the worst race of the season, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, I agree. I think I expected more, but I'm glad nothing more happened because that Russell Bottas crash was actually pretty scary. So I'm glad nothing like that happened in this track.
Yeah, I definitely don't like seeing those crashes. I definitely wince more than when I first started watching racing. After Grosjean's accident and Hubert's accident, that crashing now just absolutely frightens me. Um, but anyway, let's talk about what do you think of the track itself? Should this stay on the calendar for another year? Was it a good race? Should it replace a different track?
Yeah, I love Portugal. I love the track. It flows very nicely in my opinion. That's why I think we saw a lot of overtaking, and it was a boring race because everyone was comfortable. Besides, a couple of rookies.
Yeah,
I hope it stays.
it's a good track. I like it. I love racing on it on Project Cars 2 and a set of course I have a mod for it. But I feel like the grip has to be something addressed because obviously the cars were struggling for grip. Some did better than others, like Alpine, my bad. Actually had a really good weekend, and other teams like AlphaTauri was another one that was struggling.
Haas was struggling, but I wonder if that
As
was more rookies than anything. Uh, I think in the beginning of the weekend, Red Bull was struggling. Like
Red Bull, that's
Verstappen
who it was. Yeah, Red Bull
was,
was definitely struggling.
yeah.
So anyway, I like the track, and I'd be happy for it to replace some, France, possibly Spain. I'd be all right.
Saudi Arabia, but
Yeah, I mean, a few of these tracks that don't promote good racing. I know some people say, "Oh, replace Monaco." No, can't replace Monaco. It's too special, even though if the cars don't fit on it.
it's a classic.
But that's for another weekend because that race is coming up after Spain. So let's go on and move to the moment of the weekend. Raf, what was your moment of the weekend?
So I had to think about this for a bit, but it was the one that made me laugh the most. And it was when Perez was asking his engineer and the team to give the stewards some attention because he thought Norris was off the track, and in the middle of his sentence, he sneezed,
At
and you could hear Horner laughing in the background.
least he held it into the end of the race, right?
Like, get it out when you can, and then
So for me, my moment of the weekend, which I also found hysterical, was Hamilton asking for blue flags for Perez while Perez was leading the race. I don't think Hamilton is used to having a second Red Bull in the front anymore, and he just thought, "Oh, I must be lapping Perez," which kind of
or
means like, why didn't his race engineer kind of tell him like, "Oh no, he's leading the race."
well, I think he told him after he asked for blue flags. But I also wonder if it's yes because another Red Bull's in front fighting, but two, I think Perez's tires were so worn that he was going slow like he was a back marker.
Yeah, he was moving pretty slow, and he definitely put a lot of laps on those tires.
Yeah, he
I mean,
actually used I think it was 4 lap old mediums for the beginning of the race, so they were like 50 odd laps old by the time that happened.
they were pretty old, but obviously they were going for a kind of Hail Mary strategy of like, hey, maybe if we get a safety car, you can jump all the way to the front. If we get lucky. Obviously, that didn't happen, but at least they're trying something, and he got fourth place, so definitely an improvement.
Yeah,
Glad to see
and
it.
Red Bull can try those strategies now because they have a driver that can do that.
Yeah, they were able to put some pressure on Mercedes, so it definitely adds to the excitement. But
Yeah.
let's go ahead and move on to our drivers' ratings. As you know, we ranked the top 5 drivers, getting 5 points for fifth place, all the way to 1 point for. Sorry, I said that backwards, didn't I? So 5 points is for our top drivers, all the way down to 1 point for the bottom of the top 5 drivers, and then we also take away points from the worst driver to the least of the worst drivers, for a lack of way or good way of saying it.
It's a
Rafi, why don't you
complicated thing to
start?
say.
It is
It's a
really difficult
complicated
to say.
process. Pretty much, it's 5 down to 1, and then -5 up to -1.
Thank you. That like just broke my brain.
No, it's
Um,
fine.
for you that follow our social medias, they will be posted, updated after each race or every podcast while we discuss it. So, Raf, please end my misery of like not being able to speak here and give me your top 5.
All right, so coming in at number 1 for me had to be Perez, only because he was able to allow Red Bull to perform a strategy they wanted to do. We saw this back in, I believe it was Abu Dhabi when it was Albon's last race, to where they kept him in 4th place at a distance, to
Yep.
where Mercedes couldn't be proactive, or else Red Bull can jump in. Except this was the reverse. And I think if Red Bull pitted him when he had that 11-second gap, he probably would have been able to fight for 3rd and not have been struggling. But either way, he gets 5 points for being a team player and keeping the lead of the race for a lot of laps.
Now, the question is, did you vote for him for driver of the day?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
100%. I feel like I was one of the first people to do it.
See,
As
now
soon as,
that let me jump in here real quick before I forget. See, I haven't said mine yet, but I don't think Perez deserves points for that. I think it was just an okay drive, and it's only because we've had 2 previous Red Bull drivers not be able to do it that we're going like, "Oh, he did something. He did what he was supposed to do."
no, I agree with you on that, but that's the reason why I gave him 5 points. Yeah, maybe he deserved maybe like 2 or 1, but because it was such a refreshing thing and seeing Red Bull actually be able to fight since the Ricciardo Verstappen era, I was just like, oh, this is beautiful. I love this. I am a big McLaren fan, but I am definitely secondhand cheering for Red Bull since they actually have a fight to put up.
Sounds good.
So my
So,
second
yeah, no, go ahead.
my second person who's getting 4 points, like I said, I'm a McLaren person, is Ricciardo. Yeah, he had a horrible, horrible, horrible qualifying. Like he looked like he just forgot how to drive with the amount of pace he had. But to be able to come from, I believe it was 16th or 15th up to, what was
I
it,
believe you got 8.
ninth? I think it was
9.
ninth. He deserves, at least in my opinion, and then maybe it's because I'm a McLaren fan and I like seeing them get points. But for him to show that he can recover from even like the worst of positions, he deserves 4 points.
Yeah, I think Ricardo had a strong race. His qualifying was too shocking for me, so I don't have him in the top 5 this week. But go ahead and tell us about your third.
So the person getting my 3 points for me is a man that we have questioned a lot through the beginning of the season, and that would be Vettel. He didn't get points. He was in points and he dropped back. But to show that he didn't DNF and he was able to show some pace, even though, it wasn't super competitive, he deserves 3 points because he is going back to the Vettel we used to know. I think he's still getting used to the car. And as Oatmare always is complaining that, the car is being held back because of the regulations.
Yeah, it was good to see Vettel perform again at a decent level. I don't think the car was capable of points this weekend. He just had a really good qualifying, which is good to see because Vettel is definitely fast over a lap. And so maybe we could see this kind of growing throughout the season. Hopefully, Aston Martin could get their car working a little better. But it's definitely good to see Vettel at least fighting for points again.
Yeah. It's a breath of old, fresh air, if that makes sense. If you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's nice to like, okay, there's potential. Hopefully next year, they could be fighting towards the front. Who knows?
Hopefully, maybe. But my driver that's getting 2 points is Ocon, and that's purely because Alpine. Sorry, I did it again. Alpine just performed very well this weekend. I think they brought an upgrade or two. I don't know, or maybe Portugal is just a track that favors them a lot because of how flowing and decently fast paced it is. So to see both of them perform, I had to choose Ocon over Alonso, and that's kind of a spoiler for who gets my 1 point. Maybe is because he just finished Tyre,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I feel like Alonso should be performing better, but like we said with Aston Martin, maybe it's the car, maybe it was the strategy he put on.
Yeah, he definitely had a good weekend. Qualified well, raced well, and I also have him in my points.
Yeah, and then my driver who's getting 1 point is I don't think a lot of people will be shocked by this, or maybe they will. I gave Mick Schumacher 1 point because him and his race engineer are so nice on the radio. It's so weird to hear such a nice conversation on the radio, but also because yeah, he made that comment that it's torture fighting in the back, but he takes it just as seriously as it when he was fighting for the championship in F2. He pulled off a lot of good maneuvers on the Tiffy. He had to give up the position because of a blue flag, but then was able to recover it in a very nice paced manner. Didn't cause an accident trying to rush the overtake. He spent a lap or two building up to it and then finally did it. I think we're starting to see, yeah, he's in a bad car, but it's not relating to his driving style. He's a good driver. He just right now has a bad car.
I think what this race proved that Schumacher didn't make it into F1 just because of his last name. Well, obviously he won F2, he won F3, but he puts in the work, he becomes a stronger driver, and he's just annihilating his teammate, I believe. Even though it's hard to tell because they're at the back of the field, they're not fighting for points. They probably won't fight for points at all this season.
Almost
But
10 cars crash out.
But Schumacher, I think this is a kind of going to be a little bit of a blessing in disguise for him because he likes to learn and then he starts to dominate. That's what he did with F3. This is what he did with F2. He gets to learn from the back when no one's really paying attention. If he has a good race now and then and people see it, hey, that's great. But if he has a pretty, average weekend, no one's really going to notice it. It's only when you have big mistakes do people notice. And I don't think he's kind of the driver that makes those kinds of mistakes.
No, his teammate definitely. Him, I don't think he's making very big mistakes. I think the only one he had was in Imola when he was trying to warm up the tires and he had too much lateral movement and he broke his wing into the wall, causing the pit lane to be closed. But that was wet race.
It was wet. Yeah, it happens. I mean, even Russell, dropped his car before and put it into the wall.
That was last year. That was last year, Imola, and he was in 10th place. He could have gotten a point, and he sabotaged himself.
He'll get it eventually.
Well, anyway, he did in Secure.
I'm going to move on. Yeah. Williams will get a point.
Yeah. Either way, what are your top drivers for the weekend?
My top drivers of the weekend for my 5 points, and this is going to be a shocker. I might be called a fanboy, but I'm not. I'm giving Hamilton the 5 points. He had a good race. Decent qualifying. Yeah, he didn't get pole, but I think that was just because of the weather, the wind. They slowed the cars down. Sometimes you have to be at the right place at the right time, and Bottas was. I don't think Bottas was ever faster in that race. But Hamilton, started second or third? I can't remember at this current moment. Fought up.
Second.
Was he second? Yeah,
second because Verstappen was third and overtook Hamilton in the first corner of the first lap.
So he started second. No, it wasn't great. Fell back to third. Wasn't even better. But he fought his way back, got past Verstappen when he had the chance, and then got past Bottas, and then just led that race. Obviously, Perez led it for a bit, but that was never really for the win. I think it was a solid drive by Hamilton, and because we're so used to him winning all the time that we kind of just brush it off. It was an easy week for him, but you got to remember how hard it is. Bottas struggled with the Mercedes. He ended up at third. I bet you if Perez was up to speed, he would have gotten probably fourth.
Now, if I may say one thing, and I think we talked about this on the podcast or off the podcast, that I do agree Hamilton had a great drive. He does deserve the 5 points, but yes, we expect him to win, and we're always winning. But I feel like this isn't the first time he's done this. Like this season, it was the first time because the first race he literally led from lap 1, or no, he led from lap 2 because I think Verstappen led lap 1. That if this happens again, do you think Hamilton would still deserve the 5 points, or will it start to like slowly decrease over time since we're now expecting them to have this style of driving and to have a good race when starting from a bad position of second or third or fourth?
I think it'll just decrease a bit because, like you said, we've gotten so used to him winning all the time, especially from 2017 to now. I mean, yeah, you could go into the Rosberg era, but a little different. But yeah, we kind of expect Hamilton because he's had the best car, and his teammate, while very good, better than a lot of drivers, he's not challenging Hamilton, especially this season for the championship. So yeah,
for the first 2
he's
races.
gonna. Over time, I probably won't be giving Hamilton for 5 points for this kind of performance. But you know what? He earned that race win.
Yeah.
I felt like he deserved the 5 points here. But let me move on to my 4th place. And this one's not a shocker because I believe he's been in my top 5 for every time we've done this. It's Lando Norris. What an amazing season he's having. I mean, he was good before, but he's taking it to the next level. I think Ricardo, maybe this is what caused him to slow up. Maybe Norris is getting in Ricardo's head, like, oh no, this kid could be better than me. He's definitely had more time with the team, so he's well implemented. He knows how everything works. But a bright future for him. Rafi, what do you think about this?
Oh, I love it. Honestly, I think so overwhelmed by Ricardo's recovery that I forgot that Norris did so well. I believe it was on McLaren's Instagram or F1's Instagram. They actually posted a stat on him. Within his first 3 races, in his first year, he had 18 points. And then his second year, he had, I think it was 23 or 32. And then this year, I think he's at 37 points within the first 3 races. He is showing his prowess.
To put it here is Lando Norris is still 3rd in the Drivers' Championship in front of Bottas.
Yeah, I think that's a combination of great driving by Norris, but also just bad luck and just bad. Like maybe this is Bottas show. Like I know he's not that old, Bottas, but maybe he's showing his age a bit.
You also got to put in that yes, he had that big crash with Russell last race, which he obviously lost a lot of points. He probably would have taken Norris in the championship. This race, but same time, Lando Norris has been in the right spot the whole time. He's been able to qualify. He didn't qualify great this last race, but he still was able to push his way up the field.
I don't think it was I don't think Portugal's McLaren's track.
Oh, it's not. I don't think it was either. Anyway, let me move on to my 3 points. That would be Ocon. Finally, I am recognized the Alpine team because they've been forgettable, right? They've been forgettable, but solid weekend. Great qualifying. I can't remember what he qualified in at the current moment. I really should write this down. But qualified well, raced well, and got some good points. So that was good for him. Good to see from him. So he finished 7th, got 6 points. Happy to see it. Maybe this is a good change for the team. Maybe they got a new setup or finally figuring out the car. Or it could just be track suits them better. But that also moves on to my 2 point. Alonso, 2 points. In the points, made some great passes during the later part of the race. Even though he fought mostly below the top 10. Hey, he got into the points. He did well. Saw a little bit of Alonso of old. It was good to see. And let's hope they could keep this up for future races. And so for my last point is also Mick Schumacher. Solid race. I mean, he overtook Williams, which I believe is a stronger car this season. It was Latifi is just kind of dropping off.
He overtook Latifi, I think, twice in the race. I may be wrong. I think it was 2 times. One of them because of a blue flag, but
anyway, it was nice to see him actually be able to fight and actually get some good recognition. I think everyone noticed him and went, "Okay, he belongs here." He didn't buy his seat.
He earned his seat, not just because of his last name, but because he did so well. Not like a few other drivers that bought their seat or got to it by some prowess of their family.
Before we get on the Mazepin smashing, I do have to say, you mentioned his race engineer being really nice. I have a couple of theories about that. 2-1, the guy is an absolute fan of Schumacher and can't like bring himself to get like anywhere upset with his son.
100%, 100% agree.
2, I bet you Ferrari went up to Gunther and went, "You don't yell at this one, all right? This kid is special. He's going to be coming to Ferrari eventually." Because we all know that they want that to happen.
Yeah,
you're not allowed to be mean to this guy.
I agree with you on the first part that he's probably a big shoe. I think we're all big Schumacher fans. If you watch F1, like I'm new to it. I'm like, oh, Schumacher, greatest. Yeah, Hamilton's defeating all the records, but I love Schumacher. I don't know if it's that second one. Maybe he was like, oh, try not to beat him up so badly, like verbally, and say he sucks, but.
Or Mazepin's just the problem child and it gets all the bad attention.
Yeah, Schumacher hasn't done anything wrong yet. Like, I think he did get, like, not scolded, but he did get a talking to again in Imola on the white race when breaking his wing. But even then, they're like, just, keep it steady. You're not showing any tire punctures. Don't just try not to don't put so much lateral movement when you're warming your tires.
Yeah. Anyway, he's a rookie, but it was good to see have him some positive light. Let's go quickly move to our bottom, and we'll jump through this and get to the team results. So for me, my -5 of the weekend was Raikkonen.
What was that mistake?
About? a rookie was it because for the most experienced guy on the grid?
He's old. Maybe it's senility.
No. I think what it was. He was obviously adjusting something on his steering wheel. He was in the slipstream, and he made way too much pace behind Giovinazzi on top of his teammate he crashed into. And I don't think he was expected to get that much speed on Gio that quickly. And yeah, that kind of screwed him up.
Well, yeah, I think you're right, because it's not like he crashed into the back of him. If you looked at it, and I think everybody has looked at it, is he was looking like he was going to pass, but yeah, I think maybe he was changing something, maybe a mode, maybe adjusting like the screen or whatever they do for their wheel, and just thought he was over enough to not get hit or hit someone. But
I think he just didn't see it. He didn't expect him to be there. It happens occasionally, but very odd to see from someone so experienced in the sport. So why don't you go ahead and
-4?
Oh, I was going to say you want to take your -5, but I'll do my.
Yeah, so read your whole list out.
My -4 is Ricardo. Why? That qualifying. Really, Ricardo? I know I'm not a racing driver. I couldn't be better, but I don't know. That he shouldn't have been that far back. Like if he got into Q2 and then he got knocked out, it'd been all right. He didn't have a great qualifying.
Well,
but he's out in Q1.
But it wasn't by that much of a margin. I literally think it was like by like 4,000ths of a second. Like, yeah, he should. I think it's a Bottas situation. He should have been put into that position.
But I don't know. It was just too far back. He shouldn't have been that.
Is that more saying on Ricardo's driving style, or is that more of still he's not used to the car yet?
I don't think he's used to the car yet.
But even then, yeah, I agree. He did not. He got into I think Q2 or Q3 on the other two races. That shouldn't have happened, but
he had a good recovery race, or he had a decent recovery race. Truthfully, I think what would categorize as a good race or a recovery race would have been 7th place, because obviously Norris got 5th.
Well, he made up. I think it was 8th. He qualified 16th.
Yeah.
So I guess he made up half of his places. Yeah.
It was good. It wasn't great. Nothing special from him. He's considered a top driver.
Maybe I'm just a little offended because I'm a Ricardo fan and a McLaren fan, so maybe I'm just a bit offended.
I think he's a great driver. I think something happened this weekend and he just didn't have it, which was rare. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. Anyway, moving on to my third. My -3 points is Latifi. Got overtaken by a Haas. Enough said. Agreed?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, he's got more experience than Mick. He has arguably had a little bit of a better car this season. I don't know. I don't think he should have been able to be put in that place, but their car was severely affected. As we saw Russell drop from 11th place to basically in front
he was
of
16th.
Mick. He was
Yeah.
16th in the end. So obviously part of it's the car, but at the same time, nothing impressed me by Latifi. So for my -2 is Mazepin. Mainly is for that block of Perez, though I'm not putting the full credit just to him. I don't think it was completely his fault. I think it's also his race engineer. I've heard other people talking about this. His race engineer just didn't tell him he was coming. And, I don't know if many know, but you can't really see around your car. These cars are so big and so many blind spots that he really didn't know he was there until that last moment. He sounded pretty upset by it. So, you're not upset, but you're like, oh my God, I didn't really mean to do that. So, -2. And for my -1, quickly go through this list is Sonoda. Did he race this weekend? Honestly.
A fun or interesting fact is this is the first time Tsunoda's ever been on the Portimao track.
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't put Tsunoda in any of my top or bottom, is because I knew this was his first time and I knew he was not gonna do well.
Yeah, but 15th when your teammate's getting a point.
But Gasly's raced on Portugal before, and Gasly has a lot more experience.
You gotta remember, all these guys have only raced on this track once before.
Yeah.
So you can't really say it was completely down to experience. I just don't think he was good at this track. He couldn't manage the tires well enough.
No, I gotta agree with you.
Yeah.
Maybe I have a soft spot.
Quickly run down your bottom 5.
My -5 is Mazepin. Purely because of that, because I think that ruined Red Bull's strategy. That slowed up Perez way too much. Yeah, I understand the race engineer not doing it, but you see the blue flag flashing on the sides, and I think same thing with yellow flags. It actually flashes on your wheel, because I know it does flash. So maybe he just didn't know how far back he was, and understandably, but still, if there's a blue flag and you're in last place, not race anyone, don't go on the racing line. Just in case, be safe, but hindsight's 2020. My -4, Raikkonen, rookie mistake, should not have done that. Like I said, or you said, probably adjusting something on his wheel, didn't notice. -3, Latifi, because he got passed by a Haas twice. I think he's not as strong enough. It's hard to be compared to Russell because Russell's doing very well. But if Russell's able to, I think he was in Q2 this time.
Yeah, got all the way up to P11, started the race.
Yeah. For someone to put, because they have, I'd assume, the exact same car. Maybe Russell had to upgrade her to more or a newer part.
Yeah. I think they were running equal this time.
Yeah. So it wasn't a strong drive by him. But the reason why I didn't place him at -5 is kind of the thing with Verstappen, Hamilton, and Bottas. We're starting to expect some of this normalcy sooner or later. I don't think I'll put Latifi in my bottom 5 because I'll just start to expect, not a great drive by him. -2, Russell, because he dropped 5 places. I think the Williams in traffic is the same as the Mercedes. Fast when in clean air. In traffic, kind of a slow vehicle.
What's funny is this year it seems like the Mercedes could travel well in traffic, but it can't. It's Red Bull that gets caught up by the traffic. But I can't completely agree with the Russell -2 because it wasn't all the way down to him. That car was going to be slow.
It's also, and I could justify this, and it's the same with my -1. I had to pick people. Yeah. I had to pick people, and just because of the starting and finishing position for Russell, I was like, that kind of hurts. And my -1, I had to pick someone, and Alan, you're gonna know, you know, kind of the back theory is I sort of kind of don't like this driver a little bit. I put Stroll with a -1. It's not because I don't like him. I'll say that he is a good driver. I know it's a popular thing of like pay for a seat. He's definitely proving that he would deserve the seat, but usually you were like, oh man, Stroll's doing really well, or that was such a great qualifying by him, or oh man, that was such a great overtake. it kind of fell under my radar. And before we began this podcast, I had to quickly choose a -1, and the arrow landed on Stroll.
I think
I
Stroll
feel
had
bad.
an okay race. He obviously got beaten by his teammate first time this season,
Finally,
in qualifying and in the race. But Vettel was 13th. He was 14th. They were
yeah,
both a lap down.
he didn't have a bad race.
It
Like I
wasn't
said,
bad, but yeah,
it's,
at 1 point. Okay,
it's also
-1.
because I had a soft spot for Tsunoda. I'm like, oh, he's a rookie driver. This is his first time driving, knowing that everybody else is like their first or second time driving on it. But
Yeah,
pretty much I put the bottom 4 on my list, bottom
right.
5 on my list, and then Stroll.
Sounds fair to me. Anyway, that was our points for the Drivers' Championship here at Knockoff Media. They will be updated on our social media, Instagram. So go ahead, give us a follow, and check us out. But let's move on to our team result championship that we're also doing. We're going to go from championship order of last season, so starting with Mercedes, ending with Williams. So for me, I gave them 9 points. They had a good race, got pole, won the race. Don't know what more you can ask for.
Yeah, I agree, but I gave them 7 points because I expect it from them. I'm now like as we said before, I'm starting to expect a lot more, so maybe I'm being a bit more scrutinized. Like they'll never get 1 point, but like, oh, we expected the 1-2, but they'll
Yes.
always be within like the top 3 to 4, depending on the weekend. They did have a solid race. I think Bottas kind of not like physically bottomed out. He didn't crash, but I think as soon as he got passed by Hamilton, he just, I guess, lost all figurative drive to
I think
race
what it
because
is, he's realized that the championship is never going to become a reality with him, or at least not at Mercedes.
drivers championship, yeah,
Yeah.
but still drive. Like I know he's still driving like a real guy. He's still driving all seriousness, but emotions, I guess.
Yep. Anyway, let's move on to Red Bull. I gave them 8 points. Good weekend. Didn't have it in for the win. Perez wasn't quite on yet, but he's still new. We'll give him a chance, but they could have done a little better this weekend. And Verstappen got up to second. In the end, he has second, so he passed Hamilton, and then Hamilton got past him, and then past Bottas. It was a good race for him, but nothing really special.
I think it was a solid weekend by Red Bull. I think the only reason why Perez wasn't as fast is because he was on such old tire. I think it was 3 or 4 lap old mediums that he started on.
Yeah.
I think they messed up the strategy. I think they pushed too long. There was a time where it was an 11-second gap, and he was, I think, 25 or 23 seconds ahead of Bottas, to where he would have been within a 1-second gap or 1 to 2 second gap of Bottas. But they decided to pit him even later to when he would be 11 seconds behind, or 9 to 11 seconds. I think if they pit it earlier, they might have been fighting for a double podium. But that's why I gave him a 9 instead of an 8 or a 10.
I
It's
don't know.
because I think the strategy they needed to not be so gung ho on that long stint.
I think they knew that, and I don't think there was a double podium in that race. Perez just isn't strong enough in the car yet, and I think what the plan was to kind of go for a big risk of like, hey, let's keep him out. He is the tire master. He's very good at keeping those tires good for a long time. Let's give him a shot. Let's try him out, see how far he can go. Let's hope for a safety car. Then maybe we can win this race or get a podium or double podium.
I think he lasted track laps, so race laps. I think it was like 52. So those tires lasted, I think, like 55 to 56 laps.
He did a great job on old tires. I don't think they threw away a double podium. His pace wasn't there. He went on soft tires in the end to try to get the fastest lap for that single point.
Which he did, but then Bottas took it.
Yeah, he really didn't have the pace. He's not comfortable enough in the car yet to do it.
But
anyway,
he
let's
looked
move
strong.
on
to
McLaren. I gave them 7 points. It was a good weekend. Lando Norris did great. What he got, fifth place finish, so top 5. Ricardo, what did I say, 9th place. So he looked a little weak. The car didn't look too strong, but it didn't look weak either. Rafi, what'd you give him?
I gave him an 8. I would have given them I know I actually would have not given them higher. If Ricardo didn't get points, I would have placed them a lot lower. Yeah, Ricardo's qualifying was bad. Norris's qualifying was great, but what really settled it for me was the communication between the team and the drivers. Like Zach Brown did not talk down to Ricardo. They'd be like, "Oh, how could you not make it out of Q3 or Q1?" Yada yada. He's like, "You know what? You have your bad days. Keep your head up. Push on." And they were able to. They both finished in double points, and I think they are the only. I think top three teams. I think I said it was either top three teams or only team to have double point finishers in all three races.
I believe they're the only team. Yeah, they're the only team to have.
Yeah. So that, I guess that accolade also gives them that top three, that number 8 spot for me.
Yeah, I mean they're still sitting third in the championship. They're doing great this year. They're about 11 points in front of Ferrari. So we'll see how this battle, goes on throughout the season. But let's move on to Aston Martin. It was good to see Vettel get into Q3, but that was the only special thing of the weekend, so I gave him 5 points.
I gave him 6 points for that. There's nothing special, but yeah.
He looked like he could get a point, but the car didn't have the pace, the tires weren't there. But it was nice to see Vettel start to have some good things going for him again. And hopefully that'll keep him going in the future.
Maybe the doubters that were like, "Oh, I know we were talking about it off camera, sort of jokingly, sort of serious, but I think this is keeping the doubters from like, oh, maybe they'll replace Vettel at the end of the year." I think if he keeps improving off of this race, there's no question he'll probably drive for 2 years and then maybe extend his contract or retire after 2 years and not be replaced with.
I never fully felt like Vettel was going to get drops from the team at the end of the year. The only way he would leave if he was like, all right, you know what? I'm not feeling this sport anymore. I can't make progress. But yeah, like I said, I think this would be good for him. Give a little that motivation back, get back to his old self. But let's move on to a team that looks like both of us were surprised by this weekend, mainly because we keep forgetting about them in previous podcast.
We remembered them this time.
Alpine. What a good weekend for them.
Oh my, yeah. I think Ocon qualified 6th, Alonso qualified 13th. But they both finished in points. We remembered them. I think that's the biggest thing is we remembered them.
That's why they both of us said they got 10 points this weekend.
Yep. They deserve it.
They did everything. The car was working right. The drivers were well. Hey, that was good for them.
Yeah. They didn't screw up their strategies. I think they screwed up a tire strategy maybe for one racer in one race, but they didn't, favor Alonso over Ocon or Ocon over Alonso. They said, "Hey, drive your best. Don't fight each other or crash into each other." And they finished in points. I'm still waiting to see who the team principal is. That's when we find out the day. That's the day I put once I find out both of the drivers are being 5 and 4 points and Alpine's getting 10 points. Just so we know what the mystery is. I don't care what happens.
Anyway, let's move on to Ferrari. It was an all right weekend. I gave them 6 points. Leclerc got into the points. It looked like Sainz was going to get some points. I think the late charging Alonso kind of ruined that chance for him. He would have gotten 10th place. But, Alonso fought through and earned that position. So it was all right. They did well. Rafi, what do you think?
I gave them 5 points because I think I keep saying they mess up tire strategies. I am not a race engineer. I am not someone that knows the different strategies, but they did place Sainz on medium tires on lap 20, I believe. So they were very old because they were a used set of mediums anyways. So I think they messed up that tire strategy. And I think you would hear it on the radio that they wanted to swap positions because they think Leclerc could push, which they are right. But they didn't allow Sainz to give his case, but maybe that's because it's like an in the moment decision. It's like, hey, we said this. We understand you're coming out of the grading period for your tires, but right now the best thing to do is this. But I also think they may be favoring Leclerc since
Oh
he
yeah,
is
Leclerc is definitely the favorite.
Yeah.
So far. I mean, Sainz is doing well. I heard that they didn't put an upgrade on Leclerc's car because they don't want to have a number one, number two driver right now. So, that's kind of an odd thing for Ferrari to do, but hey, I kind of like it. I like Sainz. I want him to have an equal chance.
Yeah.
And hopefully a good future with Ferrari. But let's move to Alpha Tauri, the other, or one of the many Italian teams. I gave them 2 points. It was kind of like, yeah, all right. Gasly got a point. Sonoda was nowhere near a point.
Yeah.
I think it just was a good track for him.
I give them 4 points. I felt bad for them. Like, oh, this isn't their track. Tsunoda didn't know how to drive it. Hindsight, a lot of people didn't know. But at least he didn't get passed by a Haas or a Williams. I will say that. So I think I gave them 4 points, just because the bottom 3 that I have, something actually went wrong, and it wasn't just unfamiliarity or uncomfortability with the track.
Yeah. So anyway, let's move on to Alfa Romeo. I gave them 3 points. It probably would have been a good race. I think maybe if Raikkonen didn't have his senior
Rookie
moment.
mistake. Senior moment. Oh man.
That he probably would have gotten to the points again, kind of like last race. Probably wouldn't have had them taken away, which they have not been able to get reestablished. But car pace was there. I think Giovinazzi ended up 12th. So the car has pace this season. They'll probably get a few points once they get the early jitters out of them.
And the senior moments.
So, Rafi, what did you give them?
I gave him 3 points. You hit on all the points, or all the bullet points I wanted to talk about. So let's just move on to the next team.
Yeah, the next team is Haas. We'll go through this one quickly. 1 point, Rafi?
I was about to change it and give them 2 points because I forgot that Mick Schumacher had a great drive.
He did have a great drive, so
yeah. But you know what? No, I am going to stick with the 1 point because Mazepin, no matter how bad he felt, he did mess the race up for the front runners.
A little bit, yeah. I don't think.
Maybe I'm harsh on Mazepin because he's not a good driver and he did pay for his seat. It's very clear. But yeah, mistakes happen, and Williams does not deserve 1 point.
Yeah, I gave Haas 1 point. Yeah, Mick Schumacher had a great race. That car is nowhere near running towards the points, and really, it was kind of a surprise that Haas was able to race a Williams. That's down to Latifi not driving as great as he could possibly, and Mick really stepping up his game. Who knows? But yeah, I think he kind of like I said earlier, I don't blame Mazepin for the Perez incident completely. I think it's partly his engineer's fault as well. But I think that as a team, that takes them down to that 1 point.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to Williams. I think the P11 from Russell in qualifying was really good. It shows the car is starting to get some pace back, even though during the race it doesn't really have much. Or it's all down to the wind conditions. They've said that car is wind sensitive, and that it's been windy there. So I gave them 4 points. I think they got potential if all the conditions are right during at least one race in the season. They should get points. Rafi, what do you think?
I give him 2 points. If I could think more about this, and I should have thought more a lot about this, maybe I'd give him more points or not. Because of Russell, I think the only reason why I'm giving the 2 points is because Russell had a very great qualifying. If Russell did not qualify that well, I think I would have given them 1 instead of 2. And it does come down to the overall weekend. Only one driver did spectacular, and yes, I know another team had one driver do really great, and I gave them more points. But I think it's the fact that the Williams both should be finishing in front of Haas, just the way the car is. That for it to be Williams Haas, kind of just I think it again just proves how good of a driver Russell is and can be compared to his teammate.
Yep. Anyway, that was our team championship we voted for. That will be updated once again on our social medias, mainly Instagram at the moment. But let's go over the last week race predictions. Um, yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
so
we were wrong.
yeah, we were wrong. I'll go off of mine
Whoa,
real quick. I said Latifi gets points in the race, and Russell doesn't get a point in the race.
wrong.
Well, I was kind of correct with Russell not getting a point in the race, not getting points in the race, but I don't get any points. Latifi was nowhere
Nowhere,
near getting points,
none
so automatically,
whatsoever.
no, not getting that.
No.
Then I said, "Oh, Verstappen and Hamilton will battle for the lead of the race within a 2-second gap," thinking that one of them will be leading the race with the other one right behind them. Yeah, that never really happened, did it?
It.
They
I.
fought, but it wasn't for the lead of the race.
I
And then
will.
when they were in first and second, they never got into that 2-second gap. So
Yeah,
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 no
you're
point
right.
for me.
I was gonna give you some leeway, but yeah, no, it was that first corner. But it
Yep.
was that. But it was after the first corner on. I think it was like lap 3 or 4 that Hamilton. No, lap
Yeah.
2 or 3 that Hamilton passed Bottas, but then just shot away.
Yeah. So they never
Ah,
raced for the lead
nah.
really within what I was going for. So no points there. And then I said Sonoda will crash in the weekend. I don't think he crashed.
Nope, he went off
Really,
track a bit, but that's it.
like I said, if you told me he didn't race this weekend, yeah, okay, that makes sense. I don't remember seeing him at all. Anyway, Raf, let's go quickly through your.
Before I go through mine, if we are wrong in any of our predictions and you guys do find out, it's like let's say Sonoda did crash like in like practice, please
Send us a
comment
message.
on YouTube, message on our posts on Instagram, tweet at us, any social media. But back to my predictions, I said Mazepin crashes in the race. I was wrong. He almost did if Perez did not stop hard enough or brake hard enough. That would have been a
Mhm.
crash. I said Norris top 3 again.
Didn't quite get there.
That didn't quite get there. I would have loved it. And I said Russell will be on the bottom half of the top 10 in the race.
Not even close.
Nope, he did not get to 10th place. He did.
Yeah.
I don't think he got into 10th place. If he did, it was for a split second
No.
around a corner. So
Basically, it was he started 11th, and from there he dropped like a stone
I
and back.
think he went to 10th, and then but it was during a corner, so Vettel overtook again. They did like a little like swap, and then
Yep.
just fell back.
Yeah, no. He
So
was
0 points.
nowhere near of getting any into the top 10.
Yeah.
But let's quickly go over the Spain race predictions. So for me, even though I bashed on him pretty hard this episode,
Yes,
Ricardo
you did.
gets a podium.
Wow. Wow. You now supporting Ricardo after all the bashing you did here?
I feel like he's kind of go into this like, oh my gosh, I need to step it up. That was embarrassing, and it'll just he'll push hard and he'll try to get a good result. And I think this also leads into another prediction I'll make after my next one, that how he could get this podium. But my next one, going for that easy point, is Russell makes it into Q2, not Q3, Q2. I really want a point. I
That
can't let Raf have that 1 point.
next,
Can't
I'm
lead.
winning right now.
And then, so for this last round for both of us, we're gonna change it up a bit. We're gonna add a 2 points because there are extreme predictions that neither of us believe that can really happen.
And we
And this
kind of
one,
need points right now.
yeah, this one I go. Hamilton crashes out of the race and does not finish. This could be going into the gravel. This could be hitting a wall. This could be taking out another driver. If he does not finish the race after starting it, I get 2 points. Now, to add to that, we both really can't remember the last time Hamilton has crashed out of a race.
At barring Rosberg era. I don't think
Yeah.
anything after Rosberg era he crashed out. I think
He's not finished races. Like I forget in 2018. I forget what race.
he had like an engine
conked out or something.
Yeah,
and then
so we're not counting that. We're counting actual crashes or like visible car damage. Not my power unit failed.
And he did have a crash, I believe, in 2019 at Spa during qualifying. But once again, that was not during the race. So yeah, if you guys could think of when he crashed out last during a race, let us know on our Instagram. But now let's move to Raf's predictions of the weekend.
All right, so I'm going to start with my easy one. I think he's done this in every race so far. Giovinazzi overtakes someone on lap 1. He always
Ooh.
does that. I think it's mainly because of where he qualifies
Mm-hmm.
that he does overtake a lot. I will say I kind of want to add a caveat to this, but I don't know,
I
is
think you should
because
leave
there'll
it.
be times at a start to where you actually overtake someone, but then they come back. I think he has to
Look,
overtake and keep the position for like a few seconds.
okay, if you want to add that to
Yeah,
yourself, I mean, I was
because
fine if he
I
dropped back and regained a position. Hey, that's an
yeah,
overtake
you know
on the
what,
first lap.
because I need the easy point. Yeah, as soon as he overtakes, I get it. Uh,
Okay.
the harder one, even though this just happened, is Vettel gets into Q3, kind of like your whole Russell to Q2. Uh, it's also me hoping Vettel starts to do a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And my 2 points, and this is because I looked at weather patterns before today, and it said it might rain. I said it's going to be a wet race, i.e., someone, a driver, probably Gasly because he's very safe, puts on inters or wets. It doesn't matter if they put it on and then that next lap they take it off. But as soon as someone puts on wets or inters during the race, not qualifying, I get 2 points.
Counts the wet race. I don't know.
Yeah, it
I think
counts.
there needs to be some water on the track. Can't be just driver.
Well, that's why they would put on inters or wets. If someone puts on inters or wets, there will be some water on the track.
All
Uh,
right, we'll have to
it's
decide when the race
it's a
comes.
yeah. If it's yeah, it will be definitely in the moment because if it's like Gasly puts on inters because he's afraid and no one else does, maybe I'll take 1 point instead of 2 points.
Like you'll just have to tune in next time to see what we decide and what happens during the race.
Yeah.
Raf, any final thoughts before we close this podcast?
Yeah, I kind of want to talk about some of the news that we heard today or it was confirmed that Grosjean for the French Grand Prix will be testing. I think it's the W11, not the
W.
W12.
I heard it was the W10.
Is it the W?
It's the
He'll be
W.
testing a
Cars have to
Mercedes.
be two older than 2 years old to be able to drive.
Yeah.
Because it's an unfair advantage. So yeah, I saw that he will be driving the, I believe, 10 for Mercedes. We saw him in the Mercedes
Oh,
racing suit today, which was cool.
I
However,
wish that was like a reality that he was a Mercedes
if you
driver.
looked at the suit itself, it was actually Van Dorn's suit with the Belgian flag. I don't think many people caught
Yeah.
that. But yeah, it was good
Well,
to see. He's very happy. We're all excited for him.
yeah,
Obviously, the way he left the sport at Bahrain was not a great way. And I'm really happy that Toto is really making this into a positive thing of letting
yeah,
Grosjean, who's had a relatively successful career in F1, go out in such a good way.
yeah. And he's doing well in IndyCar. I know we haven't done an IndyCar podcast, but man, is he doing well for a rookie?
Oh yeah, he's doing pretty good. He's no longer leading the. We won't go too much into this, but he's no longer leading the rookie class. McLaughlin actually took a win this last weekend on an oval, which Grosjean isn't racing
Yeah,
on.
Grosjean and Johnson are not
Johnson,
racing
yeah,
ovals.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
anyway,
he took the lead in rookie class,
yeah, he didn't
but
lead. He didn't win. He took
yeah.
second place. My bad.
But
Um,
speaking of an Indy, it's not IndyCar, but Indianapolis is rumored that they could take over another track if a track cancels this year for F1.
That's a good point. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's been some rumors going on that if another track, Indianapolis
yeah,
could come back to Formula One. Of course,
yeah.
Indianapolis was made famous during, I believe, the 2005 race, where only what was it, 6 cars took place.
I,
Ferrari's only win that season.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think it was like it was less. Yeah, it was less than half the field. And
Anyway,
maybe to end on a more sad note, that Red Bull has a hat trick that nobody wants. They lost a race, they lost a pole position, and lost a fastest lap due to track limits.
yeah, it's definitely something that Red Bull needs to look into in the future, especially Max, because he's the one that has been doing
Yeah.
track limits.
But I
Yeah.
do like that the stewards are treating everybody fairly, barring Bahrain. We won't talk
Barring
about Bahrain. We won't.
Lando
Bahrain
Norris
never happened.
pass on Perez,
Yeah,
they totally ignored
yeah.
that. So
Bahrain we don't talk about, but the stewards, I think, after that incident, are taking it a lot more seriously.
yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's good to see. I think the sport's moving in the good direction. Obviously, we're getting cars next year, so if they sort all this out, it could be a very good year next year. Anyway,
it'd be
that's all from us today at Tire for Tire Knockoff Media. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Check out our YouTube, Instagram. We haven't gotten our Twitter yet, and a website could be coming soon. So check that out once it's released.
Yeah, we got to work on the design of the website. But
all right,
till next time.
That's it from us. Thank you for listening.